At the end of this powerful year, there's something I'm really noticing as we start to prepare for some really big new energy cycles that will be coming through in the coming months. This coming year is going to be so much about new beginnings and new foundations being built and new expressions coming into our world and through our voices and our experiences. And I know so many of us are feeling that tingling, powerful energy. And one of the places that we can really come into communion with that process at the end of the year is to explore the places where we are over old bargains. I always think about the story of Faust, and there are many, many versions of it, including Goethe's famous play. But Faust makes a deal with the devil essentially in this old story where he says, "Okay, you can take my soul if things don't work out, and I will let you help me with some stuff." And it's a crappy bargain, it never really gives him what he wants. And so many of us are taught to make these types of bargains from the time we are very small. And I want to create a little bit of a ritual here to really call out the bargains that we don't want to make anymore with our time, with our energy, with our spirits, with our resources, with the way we use our thoughts. This is a little ritual. It's very simple, but it packs a punch. We'll begin by writing down the bargains we have made with ourselves this year that don't feel good. This can also include bargains that we've had following us around throughout life that maybe were set up when we were much younger. So, for example, if I work hard enough at this project, then I can give myself some rest. If I control myself enough and if I keep checking on the progress of all of these projects that are going on, maybe the world will start to heal. If I can look pulled together enough, then I can earn approval and safety. That's a deep one. Many of us carry. If I'm health conscious all year round, then I'll be happy by the time it's the conclusion of the year. If I work really hard for the next 3 months, maybe then I'll be allowed to be present. So examples like that. Sometimes it takes a little teasing out of these bargains because they're hidden within a lot of language. They're hidden within a lot of reasonable seeming parameters. But noticing where you've deferred being a friend to yourself, where you felt you had to abandon yourself. Notice where you made deals that involved the way you look, what you have to achieve, how you have to control yourself in order to make the world a better place, trying hard to hoard safety or security for future events, or attempting to get certain world outcomes. Those are all clues to bargains that we're making that aren't good bargains. They're not bargains that will result in getting the thing that we want. And we all know this. This isn't something I have to explain to you. But it's a really powerful practice to name these. Write them out. And this is just for you. This isn't something you have to share with anybody else. You don't have to feel embarrassed that you've made some of these bargains with yourself. It can be really interesting to realize the places we have been bargaining with ourselves and our times and our resources and using our very life self and our bodies and our energy as bargaining chips for all sorts of things that we never end up getting, So just naming them is really powerful. It reminds me of Rumpelstiltskin, that fairy tale where the princess is getting help from Rumpelstiltskin and he does help her, but she discovers his name and his power to take her firstborn child, and his power to manipulate the situation disappears as she says his name. So it's very much that. So write those bargains out as clearly as possible. You might only have a few, and you can just focus on those really central ones. Maybe even just have one bargain that's been following you around this year that you are ready to release. You can just focus if you want. So write as many as you want. Name them clearly. Be brutally clear with them. with the if I do this, then. If I'm like this, then. What are those bargains? Name them. And then rip them up. Scribble them out with a pen. If you have like a safe way to set them on fire, you can do that. You can douse them in water, whatever element you want to use, destroy those. And as you do this, imagine that those ties are melting. Imagine that your complicit agreement to those bargains is no longer. You are pulling that back and all of the ties are melting. Your energetic resonance is getting free from that energy. And this is really the part that I recommend taking a little bit of time with, even just 5 minutes. But if you can do 5, 10, 15, where you just visualize it releasing, visualize those bargains leaving. It's a really powerful way to reclaim your vital energy at the end of the year. And once you've taken the time to really name and imagine the melting, it's a beautiful moment here in the openness that is left in the wake of releasing those bargains to write a guiding phrase for the new year, such as, I am meant to live in peace. I will always be my own best friend. I pause before I decide. Whatever the phrase is, it's something that should feel like peace in your body. It should feel like a big exhale and like something that you can come back to. And this guiding phrase for the new year, which is already a really fun way to commune with the beginning of a new year, I think, is something that can also be really helpful for when new bargains present themselves in the year, because inevitably we're presented with these types of crappy bargains any day of the week. They're everywhere and they're very tempting. And most of us have been trained to take these bargains. We've been taught that's the way you live a life. You take these really bad bargains and you hope that one day they will give you the reward that they claim to give you, right? And so sometimes these statements, like I'm meant to live in peace, or I pause before I decide, or I always choose to be with me as I move through life, is an antidote to picking up more of these bargains in the new year. And of course, it's not about perfection. Sometimes we just take the crappy bargain. I know I do. Like I just wake up one day and I have a whole bunch of things on my plate and I take the bargain that says, if I just ignore myself all day and push my boundaries and make myself really tired, I'll be allowed to feel good about myself at the end of the day. It happens. So we don't need to be perfectionistic about never picking up one of these bargains again. We probably will. And that's totally fine. But if we can start to practice what it feels like to witness those bargains, to recognize them, and to have that phrase or that modality that we want to move with, it sets us up to choose those bargains less often. It sets us up to choose the life force more clearly. And I would be really curious to hear, what is your guiding phrase? You really only need one, but you could write many if you want. You can write as many as you want. You can write a whole manifesto in the wake of the bargains you've realized you don't want to carry with you anymore. So write as much as you want, obviously, but I would really love to hear, what is your guiding phrase? And also, what is a bargain that you realize you've been making with yourself that you don't have to make anymore? I find this to be one of the most profound, simple end of year rituals that we can do. I think it's a really important one too at the end of a year like we've just had, that has involved so much recognition, I think, around these systemic bargains that we're always asked to make. And many of us are just not willing to do those bargains anymore, on the big scale. And we're really questioning that. And so as you're doing this, also just knowing you're not doing it alone. A lot of us are saying, no bargain, no deal. We're not doing it. I would love to hear your reflections on this topic, though, because I think it's such an interesting one. And we each have unique ways that we were taught to make these deals. You know, each of our family systems, each of the ways we grew up, each of the value systems we grew up in have a specific language around these deals and these bargains. And it's a really deep map often to how we've been socialized. And it can really lead to some profound insights. Every time I do this, I'm like, wow, that is a really interesting deal to make. And it really hasn't worked. Anyway, I just wanted to offer this up as a little moment at the end of the year to honor your journey, to make space for the new. And this is just like the tip of the iceberg. If you want more support from me, I always have to let you know that I have my wild dreaming community. And right now we are moving through the wild in between from December 19th to January 30th. Every Friday, I'm releasing a devotional session that walks the path along with the 7 center cards of the major arcana. So strength to temperance. And as we walk that path and we commune with each of the archetypes along that middle road, we are communing with our becoming and with letting go of the pressures of all the New Year culture and how we have to be, goal setting and vision boarding and making things happen. This is going to be much more about the softness of coming home to what's already there. It's already there. You don't have to go seeking and searching and forcing and striving toward this person you're going to become in the new year. It's a process of relaxing back into our magic, relaxing back into spirit and letting that guide us. So it's a really soulful journey, one that's designed to be very safe and also help our systems calibrate as we start to these new energy cycles. So that is available to both of my tiers over there if you want to join me. And I have so many practices that go even deeper than this one that really create that space for nurturance and breath. So I would love to see you there. But as always, being here and sending me a message, commenting on this work, and letting me know how you're moving through is a really powerful way to connect and honor and name your process and feel the resonant change in your energy field as you name and release these old deals. So that's also a really powerful way to connect with me and support yourself. So all the ways are beautiful. I hope to see you here and in my Patreon space where I love to support you and create these spaces for you where you can really breathe. And I'm sending you so much love. I will see you back here for our next chat.